Hey guys and movie lovers alike, Jeffrey Michael here. Truth or dare? Dare? Well, I dare you to sit back and watch this latest edition of Jeffrey Michael's movie reviews Extravaganza. You'll notice right away that the light switch on the wall is no longer there because I moved over about a foot. Yeah, you can't see anymore because I found it distracting in the video, so there you go. Anyway, in this video, I will be reviewing the movies that were released on April the 13th, 2018. So the first movie that I will review is Rampage, rated PG-13. It stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Naomi Harris, Malin Ackerman, Jake Lacy, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and was directed by Brad Payton, who brought you such wonderful gems as Cats and Dogs 2, The Revenge of Kitty Galore, Journey to the Mysterious Island, and San Andreas, probably the most lamest cliche-filled action film of all time. So yeah, you know what you're in for here. Anyway, so Rampage is based on the classic video game series of the same name. I played that video game on my old Nintendo NES back in the early 90s, so God, I feel old now. Anywho. So the basic premise of the Rampage video game was you pick one of three creatures, a gorilla named George, a wolf named Ralph, or a lizard gator creature named Lizzie. By the way, I didn't come up with those names, the video game did. And you pick one of those avatars and you are basically told to level all of the cities, major cities in the United States until you conquer all of the country. That was pretty much the basic of the video game. And so Hollywood said, hey, there's a perfectly good movie here because we got no better ideas to use. So the movie stars humans, obviously. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson plays Dr. Davis Okoye. He's an ex-Special Forces soldier turned primatologist because why not? He's working at the San Diego Wildlife Preserve. Before the movie began, he worked in an anti-poaching unit in the Special Forces. And he rescued a rare albino gorilla named George. And he raised him in the San Diego Wildlife Preserve and taught him sign language, and he just became his great friend, the two of them. And of course, tragedy strikes because they always do in these movies. At the beginning of the movie, we find out a company named Energen has a space station that exploded in the sky, and then 3 canisters full of CRISPR, I'll explain that in a minute, land in the United States, one in the Louisiana Everglades, where alligator is infected by it. One in Wyoming, where a wolf gets infected. And finally, the last one lands next to George in the wildlife preserve, and he gets infected too. And what happens is all 3 of these creatures, they grow excessively in size, and they become more aggressive in their behavior, and they kick on DNA of other creatures in their bodies. And Q on the scene is geneticist Dr. Kate Caldwell, played by Naomi Harris. And she explains to Davis and the audience that basically what this is CRISPR. It's research used to work for Energen, and they were using it to try to cure diseases. But then Energen wanted to use it as a biological weapon, and so she was forced out. And she explains that CRISPR is making their DNA evolve even as they speak, and it becomes more aggressive over time. And before you know it, George is breaking out of his preserve, and he's escaping across the country, and so is that wolf and that gator. And at one point, all of them converge on Chicago because why not? And they begin to rampage, if you will. And what's going to happen? Are they going to be able to stop these creatures? And can Davis save his good friend George before it's too late? You know what I noticed is that all these monkeys are always named George. Curious George, now this George. What's so special about that name with monkeys? Anywho, as for my review, before I begin, I'd just like to say that I noticed back in my last movie that starred The Rock, I made mention that Hollywood seems to have The Rock. By the way, I love The Rock, by the way. He's a great wrestler turned actor. I mean, isn't he? And he has great star power, and everyone loves him. I mean, how can you not love him? So I feel like Hollywood's got like this thing where they're looking at scripts. Oh, these are all terrible scripts, but you know what? Let's just stick The Rock in one of them and we'll automatically make money. I mean, I firmly believe that because there was that Baywatch movie. Ugh. I mean, that was terrible. Don't even bother. The poor Rock. And then he was in that Jumanji movie, and then that was just okay. He made a buttload of money, but I didn't care for it that much. And the latest example here is, Rampage. I mean, once again, you have a movie that, The Rock, it looks like he's trying his best, but, it's just he has such bad material to work with all the time. It's like, why can't they give him a good script every now and then? I mean, it's a nice, passable action film, and that's about it. I mean, there's lame, dopey dialogue, and there's situations that are just ridiculous. And the special effects, I feel like they used all their budget on the three creatures because the rest of the effects in the movie, like a plane crash, for example, they just don't measure up. They feel like second-rate effects, and when you don't have good effects, it takes you out of the movie. And just overall, it's entertaining, no doubt, but it's just enough. That's what I mean. It's just entertaining enough. There's just enough effects or enough, lame laughs. I mean, it's just enough, just average. I mean, there's some nice like action scenes with involving the creatures and some moments that'll have you like look perking up, but not really much to write home here about. I mean, kind of boring. Like it takes like the to the last third of the movie before we get to that whole Chicago Rampage scene. So most of the movie is just people talking about, these creatures and what we're going to do about them. It's like, let's get moving here. I mean, I shouldn't have been surprised since the last movie from this director was San Andreas, and that also was a lame action film, so this really isn't all that shocking. Overall, I would give this movie just a C, I guess. I mean, it's not bad or even good. It's just average. Would I recommend you go and see it? No. Only if you really want to. Otherwise, just don't bother wasting your money. It's not that great at all. I mean, it's the kind of movie that if after watching, you'll be so enraged that you wasted your money, you'll want to rampage the city yourself. Or not, I don't know. Moving on. So the next film that I'll review is Truth or Dare, rated PG-13. It stars Lucy Hale and Tyler Posey, and was directed by Jeff Wadlow, who brought you such films as Cry Wolf, Never Back Down, and Kick-Ass 2. Now, Truth or Dare is about a group of college friends who are spring breaking in Mexico. The leader of their group is Olivia, played by Lucy Hale. She's got a crush on her male friend Lucas, played by Tyler Posey, and he's already in a relationship with her best friend Marky. That's a girl, by the way, named Marky. And they're all having fun in a bar in Mexico when a mysterious stranger named Carter approaches them. He invites the group to go with him to the ruins of an old church on a cliff by the sea. And they all happily oblige because what could go wrong? And while they're in this old church, he initiates a game of Truth or Dare with them, and they all happily oblige. And they do the usual, Truth or Dare tropes. I mean, there's the two girls that make out, and there's a guy who takes off his clothes and streaks, and they all tell, their inner truths that they ask for. And finally, it comes to a head when Olivia asks Carter, Truth or Dare? Of course, he says truth. And she says, why are we really here? And he's like, well, to be honest, I needed you all here because I'm happy with the group of strangers dying so long as I get to live. And they're all, what? And of course, he gets up and he takes off, and Olivia chases after him. Hey, what the hell, dude? It's all real. What? It's all real. The game. It's a curse. Now that you're involved, you have to play too. Tell the truth or you die. Do the dare or you die. Refuse to play and you die. And then he takes off, and then they're all like, no, he's just some crazy dude. I don't know what he's talking about. So they all leave, and they all go back to their lives after their vacation. And it doesn't take long for them to realize that the curse followed them through. Like it's some kind of demon or whatever, because whenever it approaches them, it takes possession of someone, and it takes possession of that person because their eyes all of a sudden get really big, and their smile turns into a really big, creepy Joker-like smile. I mean, as one character describes it, it's like looking at a messed up Snapchat filter. It's more silly than scary, really. And they realize that one of their friends dies when he refuses to play the game. And they realize they have to play, otherwise they'll die too. So this demonic force forces them to do dares like walk drunk on top of a roof, or like expose their, male part to a crowd. Well, it's the refusal right there. And also tell their inner truths, like one guy's forced to come out to his dad. Another one is and Olivia's forced to confess her crush to Lucas and to Marky. That's not good. And they have to realize pretty soon they have to go back to where it's all started in Mexico to figure out what's caused it and stop it once and for all. Now, overall, this movie, I gotta say I was disappointed. It's from Blumhouse Productions. They also brought you last October's Happy Death Day. If you remember my Happy Death Day review, I love that movie. That was a very entertaining, turn your brain off kind of horror thriller, and I really enjoyed that one. And I was really hoping this film would be kind of the same, but unfortunately not so much. I mean, my main problem is for a horror film, it's not really that horrific. I mean, there's a lot of cliched horror tropes that we're used to, and it's more not really suspenseful. It's pretty predictable, really. I mean, you pretty much know which character is gonna. It's their turn next when they all of a sudden walk off on their own. It's like, okay, the demon's gonna show up there and give them their next truth or dare there, and it's more not really suspenseful because you know it's coming, and it's not really scary. I mean, and the characters, I mean, the actors, they do just fine with their material. They make, their characters very human. It's just, they don't really have much to work with here. And also the ending. Oh my gosh, I hated the ending. I mean, it's funny when you're watching a film and I actually had a ending that in my mind, like, oh, I hope it ends this way. And I actually liked the ending that I came up with rather than the ending that they actually used. So it's like, I should have written this script. I would have been much better. Overall, I would give this movie C plus. I mean, it's not bad. It's just just average enough, to be entertainingly passable. That's good. That's a good idea to say. It's passably entertaining, and if you want to see it, go ahead. But it's not very much to rave about. So again, another movie that I don't know if I'd recommend you see in theaters. Wait for it's free. Truth or Dare? Truth? Well, the truth is you shouldn't see this movie. Moving on. So the last movie that I saw that was in wide release on April the 13th was Isle of Dogs, rated PG-13. It stars the voice talents of Bryan Cranston, Edward Norton, Bill Murray, Jeff Goldblum, Bob Balaban, Scarlett Johansson, Liev Schreiber, and Yoko Ono, and was directed by acclaimed artistic director Wes Anderson, who brought you such classic films as The Royal Tenenbaums, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Moonrise Kingdom, and The Grand Budapest Hotel. Now, this is Wes Anderson's second stop-motion animation film after Fantastic Mr. Fox. It is set in the near future in the fictional city of Megasaki City, Japan. Now, Megasaki City is being overrun by an epidemic of dogs, and all these dogs are carrying a virus that they call dog flu. And even though there's a Professor Watanabe who's close to finding a cure for this deadly flu, Mayor Kobayashi issues a decree. He's already a dog hater, that all the dogs must be relocated to Trash Island, and so it was done. The first dog, named Spots, is carried over in a giant. It's kind of like a bucket, kind of like at the amusement park where you have the bucket ride. The dog is taken over from Megasaki City all the way over the water to Trash Island, a very long place where the city dumps their trash. And unfortunately, Spots and all the dogs are forced to eat the garbage and live in that filth. And there's a group of dogs there led by Chief, who's voiced by Bryan Cranston, who's a stray. And, they're all, trying to make the best of their horrible situation. And then one day, an airplane, a makeshift plane crash lands on Trash Island. And it's carrying a little boy, 12-year-old boy named Atari. And he's actually the nephew of Mayor Kobayashi. And he's looking for his lost dog Spots. And the dogs, even though they don't speak, it's funny because at the beginning of the film it says that the Japanese people speak their language and it's only briefly translated. And the dogs, their barks are translated in English. So they don't understand each other, but the dogs, agree to help the boy, try and find Spots. So they find out that Spots may be on the long side of the other side of Trash Island. It's a very long island. So they set off on their journey, to find his dog. Will he find his Spots? And will that Professor Watanabe find that cure so they can end the dog flu and get those dogs off Trash Island? That's a lot to take in there. And it's a nice film overall. I mean, let me start off by saying that I just love Wes Anderson films. I mean, if you're a true cinephile, then you will recognize a Wes Anderson film by now. I mean, he has all of his regular tropes that he's known for, his things. He uses a unique pastel color palette, and he's known for having the camera static and it's side-scrolling, like left and right or up and down. I mean, it's very static, his camera work. And he has quirky dialogue in his films and quirky characters. And he hires all the same people again, Bill Murray and Jeff Goldblum and Bob Balaban, all these regulars that he uses, F. Murray Abraham or whatever. And also, his films have, close-ups of actors' faces. And, all his regular things that he's known for, he uses them to, again, this film. And, it's funny. People say that he's a director that's more all style and no substance. And I just tell them, no, you're thinking of Michael Bay there. And this film is, again, another instant classic from him. I mean, it's a unique story that no one in their right mind would have come up with this. I mean, set in Japan and dogs and Trash Island. I mean, who thinks of this stuff? He does, clearly. I mean, he's got a wild imagination, Wes Anderson. And this film, it tells a unique story. It's got, great animation, by the way. I mean, the stop motion animation with the dogs was crazy good. I mean, the water effects and just everything is done so well. And the characters and the boy trying to find his dog, and there's a lot of emotional moments that they actually have tears in their eyes, and you cry too. And there's also funny moments like deadpan humor is that's pretty common too in Wes Anderson film, and also just the way that it's presented, and what they're and the way that there's Japanese words throughout the movie, and they're subtitled for English, and like parentheses, like that happens a lot in this movie. And yeah, overall, this was just a unique, great movie-going experience that, for a cinephile like myself, it's kind of an esoteric film, really. I mean, unless you really are into film, if you're a regular, like, general movie-go watcher who likes action films or comedies, you probably might not like this movie. But, for someone like myself who's a connoisseur, I mean, I enjoy these kind of movies immensely. So my grade for this, I give it an A minus. I mean, it's another great film from Wes Anderson, one of my favorite directors. And if you're into that kind of quirky movie that's a little out there, then you'll probably love this movie too. So if that's the kind of movie you want to see, then I would highly recommend this one over the other movies in this video. So go and see Isle of Dogs when you can. Truth or dare? Truth? Well, the truth is it's time for the recap. Rampage, C. Another average cliche-filled action comedy starring a giant gorilla and The Rock, who deserves so much better than this crap. Don't bother with it. Truth or Dare, C+. Predictable, scare-free horror film that had an interesting premise that was sadly wasted. Don't bother with this one either. And finally, Isle of Dogs, A-. Another winning classic from Wes Anderson with gorgeous animation, quirky dialogue and characters, and a quirky out there story that's also amazing. This is my number one recommendation in this video, so everybody see Isle of Dogs. And that'll do it for another edition of Jeffrey Michaels Movie Reviews Extravaganza. Until next time, happy movie watching, everybody! Everybody go to the movies, I dare you!